Good day, men. Good day, Mgtow. Today, discussing statistics of marriage and divorce based upon the age of men, the date of birth of men in England and Wales. I got this data from the Office for National Statistics out of Great Britain, and we have divorces being recorded up to age 80 and marriages being recorded up to age 50. I guess men don't get married after 50 years old. Anyway, here in the first slide we see left hand the age of birth of the men. Then we see the number out of 1,000 that were married. The next column is the number of men out of 1,000 that were divorced. And then the final column is divorced as a percentage of married. And so what does that mean? Well, let's stop and take a look. What we see is 906 men born in 1925. 906 men out of 1,000 were married at some point in their life, and 136 men out of 1,000 were divorced at least once at some point in their life. And so the married divided by the divorce gives us just under 15%. So if you were a man born in 1925, you had a 9 out of 10 chance of getting married and a 15% chance of at some point getting divorced. What we see here is the red highlight is 1938, which was the highest percent of men getting married, which was 929 out of 1,000 men got married. Wow. So in 1942, the statistics started to change quite dramatically. That's why it's highlighted. We might want to notice that the number of divorces as a percent is rising, and the number of marriages from that high point is starting to decline. So here in the next slide, what we see is the red numbers, which tell us the high points. So men born in 1954 and 1955, 321 out of 1,000 men got divorced at some point in their life. And the marriage rates were still pretty high at 873, 871 out of 1,000 men got married. The highest percentage of divorce rate of divorces per marriages was for men born in 1959, where by age 50, it's 37, or actually it's by age basically 80, 37.59% of men who got married got divorced. And down at the bottom, you'll see 1963, blue highlighted. That'll be a break year. The marriage numbers are taken up to age 50, but since I was born in 1963, I took this year as a base year. And so 771 men out of 1,000 got married in that base year, and 284 out of 1,000 men at some point got divorced, although there's still 30 years to go. So to date, really 36.84, or say 37% of men born in 1963, if you got married, you're getting divorced. So we'll continue on the next and most interesting slide. So what we see in this slide is, well, down at the bottom, we see men born in 1993, and this data stops in 2011. So these guys were 1993, 2003, 2013. So these guys were like 18, 19 years old. 1 out of 1,000 were married, and none of those guys got divorced. Woohoo! In 1 year. They made it. So what we notice are the purple highlights, and let's do those first. And so 50% of men getting married. So that happened for men born in 1975, that happened when they were 37 years old. And we look at 1963 and we go down that fourth column and we find that 529 out of 1,000 men, which is just over 50%, got married by the time they were 29. And so the age of when half the number of men get married went from age 29 to age 37 between the birth years of 1963 and 1975. What we're sort of expecting is that the age of half the men getting married is going to become older and older and then never actually be reached. So that's an interesting comparison. Another one is we take the 1963 marriage per age, which is going down. At age 19, men born in the year I was born, 17 out of 1,000 had gotten married, whereas for men born in 1993, it's 1 out of 1,000. And so that's like 6%. And at age 20, men born in 1992, 2 out of 1,000 got married, whereas for men born in the year I was born, it was 42 out of 1,000, and so on and so on. And so what we see here is just a declining willingness to get married in England and Wales. I'm going to assume that the statistics for England and Wales are the same basically across the Western world, and that leads me to the final screen here by a chart presented by Nork at the University of Chicago, which says that people who are happy or very happy in marriage constitute, roughly 90% of all marriages consistently from 1973. And that's just sort of surprising to me because, 40% of them wind up in divorce. So I guess they go from either very happy or pretty happy to divorce, just like that. I think we got a disconnect here. Some people are just living in a bubble.